Good morning, afternoon, or evening, everyone. My name is Jack Baker, and welcome to Pangolin, the Conservation Podcast. The show which is dedicated to telling unusual and underappreciated conservation stories that inspire me, and I hope will inspire you too. On this week's show, I am joined by Carolyn Cornfield of Caberfeidh Horizons and Jasper Hughes of the Royal Zoological Society of Scotland to discuss their project, the Wildlife Wombles. The Wildlife Wombles is a project which is based in the Highlands of Scotland, working with the Highland Wildlife Park up there to kind of promote nature conservation and to help the individuals involved grow and become more confident, gain different skills, and kind of get involved in the community. So it's a really interesting and really valuable project, and I'm really excited for you all to hear about it because it's very inspirational and it is doing what I think a lot more organisations should be doing, which is making conservation a very inclusive environment. I think a lot of the time people are told you can only be or only do kind of conservation and nature-based activities if you are a certain way or if you have a certain amount of money or a certain amount of spare time. But this project goes to show that it is for everybody and everyone can get involved, no matter what kind of background you have and what the world has thrown at you. You can, if you are committed to these things, you can go outside, get involved, and grow as a person while you're doing so as well. So yes, I will leave it here and let Carolyn and Jasper explain all about the project, but I will be back at the end just to kind of wrap up. So for now, I hope you enjoy this interview with Carolyn Cornfield and Jasper Hughes all about the Wildlife Wombles. So, welcome back to the show. I am now joined by Jasper Hughes of the RZSS and Carolyn Cornfield of Caberfeidh Horizons, and we're going to be talking today about the Wildlife Wombles project. So, thank you both very much for joining me today. Just to get us started, I wondered if you could both introduce yourself a little bit to the listeners. So, I don't know, Carolyn, do you want to start?
Hi everybody, my name's Carolyn Cornfield and I'm the project manager at Caberfeidh Horizons. I've worked there for 12 years and we offer training and work experience in the community for people with learning disabilities, mental health problems and the long-term unemployed. I'm very passionate about what I do and have lived in Scotland for 20 years, and it's so lovely to live in a rural, close community.
Perfect. And Jasper, what about you?
I'm the education officer at the Highland Wildlife Park. I've been, in fact, on the 1st of April, I think I will have been with the society for 14 years. So, I started off as a keeper and now into education.
Well, that's amazing. That's quite. Were you always up at the Highland Wildlife Park, or were you down at Edinburgh Zoo as well at any point, or has it always been up there?
I was a keeper down at Edinburgh when I first started, and then moved to the dark side of education.
The most important. I'm on the education side. You can't. Won't have that. Won't have it. So today you're both here to kind of talk to us a little bit about the Wildlife Wombles. So I wondered, Carolyn, do you want to kind of introduce us to the Wombles? Who are they? What's this project kind of all about?
Right. This project is about the Wildlife Park and Caberfeidh Horizons coming together to offer opportunities for people with additional support needs. We had initial talks and we spoke to people with learning difficulties and said, would they be interested in going to the park, working, volunteering, helping out? And of course they wanted to. They were delighted to be able to do that. And the Wombles are a group of people who go and help out at the park, basically, named by one of our older guys who sadly has left us now. But when we talked about litter picking and volunteering, and this little voice cheeped up at the back, we should be called the Wombles, and it's stuck ever since.
That's a really sweet story. I'm glad you told it, because I was gonna ask you and kind of because I remember reading. When I was doing my research, I remember reading that story and thinking that's a really nice. It's a name that maybe people wouldn't have thought of straight away. Yeah. So it's nice to know exactly where it came from. how did it kind of all, what was the kind of initial inspiration behind it? I guess we'll start with Carolyn. I think when I was reading, you kind of came up with the ideas kind of first and then went to Jasper and the Highland Wildlife Park. What was the kind of initial inspiration for setting up a group like this?
I actually think it was the other way around. I
Oh.
think Jasper was talking to another charity called Health and Happiness about a project, and we all worked closely together. But Jasper and a guy called Pete Carson were having discussions with Ellie Wolf, Health and Happiness, and we were invited to go across and talk about it. Jasper and I didn't have any money, but Health and Happiness had a little bit of money. So they were instrumental in actually paying somebody. We were giving time and love and all the rest of it, but Health and Happiness put a bit of money into the project to begin with. Sadly, they've gone out of business now, but we're just carrying on with the love and support, aren't we, Jasper?
Yeah, it's. I think it was a combination between the three of us, between me, you, and Pete, and it's just grown into this cracking, absolutely fantastic project.
That's amazing. Because how many people are now involved in this kind of organisation? Is it a large group?
We've probably got about 20 Wombles, but then alongside that, we've got staff. We've got staff from Caberfeidh Horizons. We've got Highland Wildlife Park staff. They all work together. We've got volunteers and support workers who come and help. So it's quite a huge undertaking. And we do, in fact, have our own little shed at the Wildlife Park called the Wombles Warren.
I'm going to say it's an understatement calling it a shed. It really is the Wombles Warren. So it's their workshop.
That's amazing. Yes, I was going to say you can't expect them to do all this good work out of a shed. And then, so is it kind of a nice, where I'm trying to think of the Highland Wildlife Park. Where is it kind of located in there? Is it?
It's tucked away at the back of the keepers' quarters. Is that right?
Yeah. Right at the back of the where the keepers eat.
Yes. I was going to say I've spent most of my childhood wandering around the places like the Highland Wildlife Park. I was like, I can't remember seeing it. So that's good to know.
You wouldn't be allowed to go there. It's special for the Wombles. Jasper lets us go there special.
Yeah.
And when they go, what kind of I wanted to kind of ask about what sort of activities they do and kind of the benefits both for the people involved and for the wildlife park and the environment. I wondered, I don't know, if we start with Jasper, what kind of activities do they take part in that kind of are the big eco-friendly conservation activities that you kind of are excited by?
There's so many different things that we've actually been involved in. We've been planting trees. We've been making enrichment for the animals. We've been cleaning out and rebranching enclosures. We've been making wigwams. There's a list. We've been doing surveys, been doing a pictorial survey. So the guys would go along and depending upon the seasons, they would then take photographs of local flora and fauna. And then we have a record of what we have around in the park. And then either they can identify it or we can identify it.
That's really important. And I think something not a lot of people think about is the kind of, when they go to a wildlife park or a zoo, they think about the animals that are there for the international kind of representatives, the polar bears, the wolves, the kind of big charismatic megafauna type animals. They don't necessarily think about the local wildlife. So it's good that they're kind of encouraged to look at all of this and do that important aspect as well.
Well, the Wombles have been really instrumental in help set up the wildlife garden, and they've been building bug hotels. They've been making they helped me clear the pond. We made a whole new pond, and we had to take out all the sharp stones. So I got all the Wombles into the hole, and they were stones going everywhere. But they did an absolutely cracking job, and like I say, they've been just helping local flora and fauna by making habitats as well, which has been fantastic.
That's amazing. And for people who are listening, maybe aren't based in Scotland, don't have the experience of being in the Highlands, what kind of species are they helping with there?
Oh, well, we've been looking after native birds. So we've been setting up bird feeders. We've also been making these huge bug hotels, which is for both small mammals and invertebrates as well. So the range of species that they're helping, I couldn't name them all because it's just such a diverse selection of animals in the habitat that they've been creating.
I think it's a good thing to listen for listeners as well to be thinking about. Are these types of activities or things, even if you're not in the Highlands, which people might think of as a biodiversity kind of hotspot, you can set up a bug hotel anywhere you are. Even if you're in the middle of a city, in the middle of you can start creating these little spaces for nature using these similar ideas. So anyone who's listening and kind of thinking about that side of it, they're all things that they can do. Obviously, maybe you have a bit more room to make massive bug hotels, but it's something we can make a start with. What about if we're talking, Carolyn, about the benefits for the people involved? I was looking on your website about all the different projects that Caberfeidh Horizons take. I mixed your name and the name of the organisation.
Very good. That was very clever.
Caberfeidh Horizons. If we kind of the other things that they take part in, what's the kind of difference for you and the benefit for you of doing something outdoors like the Highland Wildlife Park activities with the Wombles?
I think traditionally, going back many years, people with learning disabilities went to a daycare centre and they were kept in and they did table-based projects and very often didn't leave the building. So our thinking from when we opened in 2004 was to get those people out into the community. So we do still do inside projects. We have retail premises, but going to the wildlife park gives them independence, it gives them confidence. When we started, we used to ferry them about in a minibus, and now, a couple of years later, we're saying, look, get on the bus. We're not the taxi service. So people get on the bus, they walk up to the park, they are welcomed by the staff at the park, they're known by the staff at the park, they've got a pride in the wildlife park, and this sense of belonging that when they go there, they're part of that team. And just to be recognised as a person in society, as a volunteer, going into the wildlife park and doing what needs doing without, no hand holding. I mean, the guys go in, they feed the birds, they build wigwams, they just get on with it because they've been trained, they know how to do it. And it's this, this sense of belonging, this part
inclusivity.
Say again?
Inclusivity.
Absolutely.
They've been all included. There's no difference between those guys and the visitors and the workers because they're there, and it's a working party, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's really interesting actually, because I've wondered whenever when I went to high school, it was a school that had a specialized unit for helping people with the learning difficulties and things. And a lot of the time they weren't you didn't see them going out and about and doing a lot. It did seem like a lot of desk-based things. So it was interesting to me to hear about this project where they're out and about doing more active learning, kind of outside doing these things. It's really intriguing to me, actually. And I wondered the benefits. And do you see a difference in somebody? Is it kind of an instant difference as you see them out and about and they start doing things? Or does it take a little while for them to get comfortable? Or how does it it must be great to just watch them blossom and become used to and included, no matter how long it takes.
I think the good thing about the Wildlife Park project is that we've got Jasper in charge at the Wildlife Park, and the guys that we work with are very good at following instructions, and Jasper's very good at telling them what they can and can't do, where they can and can't go. And once they've got that clear understanding of the rules, if you like, they're very relaxed about it. For example, to go and fill the bird feeders. Now, the public are not allowed in there, but, our guys have learned how to do it. They go into the store, they get the bird food, they go and do it. And it's just amazing that, they go from being a little bit hesitant to all of a sudden they've got responsibility, and they take that responsibility not lightly. The other thing about the Wildlife Park project, it's launched a few more projects because we now have a project at the local stables. They're called Rory's Wranglers. And so we've set up a project maintaining the stables, not horse riding, not playing, cleaning the tack, sweeping the yard, picking up the horse muck. And that's a side project. We were approached by one of the big local estates who heard about us because Jasper had us planting aspen trees And this local estate person found out and said, would the Wombles go and plant some trees on his estate? And so they were duly taken down to Career Estate and planted trees. And they had the confidence to do that because they'd learned how to do it at the wildlife park. So it's just broadened everybody's horizons so much.
That's an amazing story, actually. And I think it's good that it's, I don't know what it is, a perception I think a lot of people have about going outside and doing these outdoor things. They don't think they're transferable skills, really, or they don't think they're kind of, I say, oh, it's gardening, but gardening wouldn't help you in your everyday life. But clearly there's these transferable skills that are moving them between projects and giving them confidence to do other things as well. Do you notice that the other activities, because they've gained confidence in kind of doing the outdoor stuff, does it affect the other activities as well?
I think that the people that we work with now have a confidence. They come to us as the base and are quite happy to go out in small groups to do things. So they're happy to stay in. They might do art projects for the local art gallery. They're quite happy to go out, but they've got this confidence of belonging. And so certainly 1 or 2 of them are looking for work, and 3 of them recently have got jobs as a result of working through the program. One young lad who we get 1 or 2 people who are called school refusers. I didn't know you could refuse school, but apparently you can. And we've had 1 or 2 school refusers. And this young lad didn't go to school from about primary 7. Anyway, joined the Wombles and learned about outdoor work. Didn't really know about anything to do with outdoors, and I just heard from his mum last week that he's got a job working as a gamekeeper on one of the big estates, and they've just issued him with a cottage. I mean, this lad is, what will he be, 17 now, and all of a sudden he's got a cottage on an estate and a full-time job, and his mum is delighted because obviously at the time he was with us at the Wombles, it was uncertain as to what he was doing. School wasn't it, exams wasn't it, but you know, the lad's really coming to his own in an outside environment.
That's amazing. That's an incredible, because I guess I think a lot of people are encouraged through the school process. Well, you're expected to do school, and then you go on to university, and then you get a job from there, and you're funneled through this system, which is sometimes designed to push you all in the same direction. So it's good that he's found this kind of through the Wombles and found this own pathway.
Absolutely.
That's amazing.
And he was always the one that spotted the bird in the sky. You know, Jasper would be having these conversations and it'd be like, oh, look at this so-and-so in the sky. And Jasper, oh, yes, it is, you're right. You know, and I'm looking at this bird thinking, they all look the same to me.
But it's good you have the mix of expertise, I guess, of kind of your side, Carolyn, and then Jasper. Had you had experience working with groups like this before, or is it the Wombles your first project like this?
Not really. I would say it was probably my first big project. I've known people with ASN and all that kind of stuff before, but we've never really done a project. This is, I think it's the first of its type, really, in zoos. And you know, people are wary. People are, oh, we can't do that with an ASN group or additional support needs. But it's like, well, why not? And it's like, as long as they're managed properly. And I had some fantastic managers at the park who go, I'm thinking about doing this in the polar bear enclosure. Yeah, without the polar bears. So we'll go and collect Rose Bay willow herb. And it's like, well, really? I'll be in there with them as long as the polar bear's shut out, and it's like, yeah, okay. And it's like they're like a swarm of locusts. They come in and they will clear an area of branches or Rose Bay willow herb, and it would take the keepers days because they're only a small team of 4 people, whereas we descend on them, and it's like literally it obliterates an area and it's cleared in half hour, 45 minutes, and it's fantastic. It's such a great asset to the park and also the keepers as well. It makes life easy for them.
That's because I know the kind of working, having worked at Edinburgh Zoo, I know that they kind of do, the RZSS do a lot of these inclusivity projects. I don't know if there's actually something of this nature though at the zoo, but I feel like something that you've kind of tested and proven works and is really effective. So maybe someday in the future they'll have something. You'll find them copying you down in Edinburgh. Uh,
Well, one of the things that we did, 2019, we did the Biaza Educators Conference,
mhm,
and we created a how-to guide, just a very simple how-to guide, and I presented to the delegates there, and then we gave out the booklets, which Carolyn and her team had printed up, which was fantastic. And yeah, we were just trying to give ideas and go, look, if we can do it, you can do it.
mhm. Did you have, was it kind of a warm reception? Do you think that message got across? And is there other groups taking that away and that you know of that have started working on things?
I don't know of anybody who has started a Wildlife Wombles group yet, but this was in the tail end of 2019. Then all COVID kicked off, so it's just one of those things. But hopefully, it's planting that seed,
Hmm.
and it's getting people to go, actually, yeah, I know of a group, and I'm happy and I'm confident to be able to bring them on site to
Hmm.
do these activities. It's finding time, it's finding the funding, it's it's having that goodwill and that communication, which is really, really important.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah. I hopefully the more, especially now, COVID, I think has made us reassess everything and get kind of everybody has this. I feel like within the last year, certainly there's been this growing appreciation of nature and being outdoors and experiencing these things. Hopefully, going forward, there'll be more of these groups spring up all over the place as well. Speaking on that topic, I wanted to ask you about how COVID had kind of affected the group, because obviously zoos and for us here in the UK and in Scotland, zoos were closed for a large part of last year. So I wondered if we start with Carolyn, maybe what did you kind of do with the Wombles to make up for that, or was it everything just kind of had to close down and slow down, or did you jump into the Highland Wildlife Park in the little time it was open? What did were able to
We yeah, we probably work with about 30 people with learning disabilities, and we've got a bookshop, we've got a charity shop, we've got 4 more outreach projects. So we had a very, very busy project with lots of people doing lots of things.
Mhm.
One of the things we had to do at the first lockdown literally was lockdown.
Yeah.
People with learning disabilities are 6 times more likely to get COVID than the average person. And NHS Highland advised us that we could not have them back in the building until it was safe to do so. We got to November and the restrictions lifted a little bit, and they allowed us to do what they called outreach training, which meant we could have 1 member of staff and 2 Wombles or 2 trainees.
Mhm.
And so we did a little bit at the wildlife park, we did a little bit at the stables, and we did a little bit at Lockinch Water Sports, which is a big water sports centre. And again, it was work-based, it was clearing up, it was autumn, plenty of leaves to be swept. It only lasted for a month. We didn't last a month at the wildlife park because the restrictions were quite severe. So you've got to think about the Wombles have got to eat and go to the toilet. So automatically you've got to keep them out of the eating areas. You've got to be careful. And the wildlife park were brilliant. They had fantastic systems in place. But it was autumn, it was cold. They couldn't take a sandwich and eat it on the bench. If it was raining, they'd got nowhere to go. Whereas previously, we'd go into the cafe and have a bacon roll. That's the best part of being a Womble, is the bacon roll. We couldn't get in. We couldn't get in from the cold. So they did go a couple of times. But the other places that we went, we had exclusivity because they were shut down and we were doing like maintenance jobs. Whereas the park still had lots of staff and animals and lots going on. Indeed, we then locked down again at Christmas and the Wombles are still at home and we still can't have them back. We were never, as an independent charity, we were never registered with the Care Commission and we were never really bothered by the authorities as such. But since COVID, NHS Highland have come to us and said, you must follow our rules. For people with learning disability, the rules are very strict, and I'm writing procedures and risk assessments out of my ears all the time. And we cannot now go back to work until they say we can go back to work. We're looking at, I think, probably middle to end of May. However, I do talk to them every week, or they talk to me. When are we going back? We want to go back. How's Jasper doing? Oh, Jasper's absolutely fine. Give my love to everybody. Give my love to One Boy Rings Me every week. Give my love to everybody in Kincraig and Kingussie and Scotland and the world, because I'm missing everybody. They're desperate to get back.
I can imagine. I think when it's a project like that, where it's kind of, I think everybody's been desperate to kind of get out and about for the last year, but I think especially when they're doing something that seems so fun, and so they want to be back even more than everybody else. But it is probably a good thing for people to hear that this is the reason we're locking down, and to make it safe for people to be able to eventually go back to these things and get back on track to do all these amazing projects. I guess, Jasper, what's it been like for you at the park? I imagine it's been very quiet, but what's it been like there?
To be honest, I've actually been at home. I've been on furlough. So certainly last year, a large proportion I was at home, and then went back again, short period of time, just before Christmas. So when we think, oh yeah, it's great, and we were working on projects, we had new projects in the pipeline, and it's like, oh no, we're back on lockdown again. And it's like, and then it was flexible furlough, so we then had 2 days a week. So it's been an interesting year. It really has. But ours at SS have really stepped out, and we've gone into virtual learning, virtual tours, lots of online activities, and we've really had a huge digital footprint with regards to what we've been doing. And like I say, I've been creating, and my colleagues have all been creating, and all chucking into the same pot and making the magic.
That's amazing. Yes, I know for a fact personally, I have been watching the webcams at Edinburgh Zoo. I'm often watching Dharma, everybody's favorite tiger, I think. Oh, I forgot. There's tigers at the Highland Wildlife Park. I shouldn't have said that. Take that back. But then you've got is it the Japanese macaques, the monkeys up there?
Macaques, Japanese macaques.
That macaque is parrot. That's wrong. It's just my brain is clearly not working today. The monkeys as well, that just are amazing to watch. So if anyone's bored at home, I always recommend. I have to admit, towards the end of my master's last year, I would often find myself, I'd put it on as like a nice distraction in the background, watch and kind of appreciate, and then all of a sudden I'd stop writing whatever I was doing and focus entirely on watching the webcams. So the online efforts of kind of the RZSS have been excellent. I guess looking forward then, once we get through this period, what's the kind of things that you, Jasper, probably having heard that you've been furloughed, equally as excited to get back? What are you excited to kind of get back and start doing with the Wombles? Is there any projects you've got in mind going forward?
We've got plenty of projects: tidying up, lifting, shifting, clearing, tidying, feeding the birds and the squirrels. We'll go back to normal, and like I say, it'll probably just be, I'm going to work them. I'm going to make sure that they keep busy. So sometimes they say, oh, you're a bit of a slave driver. It's like, yeah, but you enjoy it. Yeah, we do. And I tell you what, seeing their beaming faces. So I just love working with them. It's one of the best projects I've been involved in.
It sounds like it's nice to hear you're both so excited about it. It's nice to hear this kind of, like, you can tell you're genuinely like so passionate about it. It's really interesting to hear. And Carolyn, what about you? What are you most looking forward to about getting back on site to start doing stuff again?
Well, from our point of view, during lockdown, we've actually renovated the old Bank of Scotland premises in Kingussie, and we're turning it into a community hub. Fortunately, before lockdown, we'd got the money. And when the Wombles come back, or when the trainees come back, not just the Wombles, when everybody comes back, they have got a purpose-built base. So in that base, we're going to have a recycling centre. So we've built a workshop. We're going to bring in furniture. The trainees are going to recycle it. We're going to sell it. We're going to build a laundry. The girls are going to do the washing for the charity shop. the boys are going to be doing deliveries. And don't, you know, this thing about girls washing and boys in workshops, I never said anything. They said, I want to be in the workshop. I want to do the washing. And so when we come back, when all our trainees come back, I can see that there's going to be different jobs for them. Now, some of the guys we work with are getting older, in the late 50s, 60s, particularly some of the girls, might not go back to the Wombles. They might stay in the new community hub. But equally, I've been talking to the school. The school have got young people who are desperate to come in and join the Wombles. And obviously, everybody in the world can't join the Wombles, so it'll be good for us to have this rotation, so the young ones coming up through the school can join the Wombles and sort of start at the beginning, if you like, and we can start that training process alongside qualified and experienced people. But we will be able to offer other things for the people who've perhaps been in the Wombles from day one. Who are getting on a bit like me. I've got younger staff doing it now. I used to do it, but I've got younger staff doing it now. So yeah, I mean, we're all committed to this project. The Wildlife Park, from our point of view, our board of directors, the parents and carers of the people with disabilities, there isn't a person in the Badenoch and Strathspey area that doesn't love this project. So they'll be queuing up to join it. We had to put an extra day on just prior to COVID because we'd got so many people, we couldn't get them all into one day. And then we got to the point of having a waiting list because, you know, you can only have so many, the ratio of trainee to staff can only be a certain amount. And so we had to have a waiting list for a while. So it might be quite good when we reopen if we can spread it all out a bit.
Sounds like, Jasper, you're going to have to start pouring Miracle Grow on all the weeds and knocking the bins over to get enough jobs for everybody to go around.
Oh no, there's plenty of jobs. The animals are very busy eating as a house and home at the park. So lots of browse clearing in the reindeer and various other enclosures. So and the wildlife garden. That needs a little bit of TLC. It's gone a little bit very wild at the moment. So I could do with some help down there. It's just tidying it up a bit.
Yeah, I can imagine after it feels very much like a year and also doesn't feel like a year at the same time. So I can imagine all of the there'll be a lot to be getting on with. I guess something I wanted to ask you both is actually if there's someone sitting at home and listening to this and thinking, oh, I want to do stuff like that. I want to be involved in a group like that, either from kind of the perspective of it being getting one of their kids or siblings or friends involved, or wanting to be involved for the kind of conservation aspect. What would you recommend them do? Is there things that they can do at home? If we start with Carolyn, I guess, what would you recommend for someone who wants to be involved in a group like this?
I think the first thing I would say to them is to contact Jasper or myself. And we have had a number of groups actually come to the Wombles to look at what we're doing, and we would encourage them, I think, to come and talk to us and see what we're doing. We, as a charity, we've got 79 volunteers in our books at the moment, and the way those volunteers join us is that I say to them, come and talk to me, come and look at what we've got to do. And I don't think there's a better way than actually talking to Jasper or myself. And, you know, if it's something they want help with in their own area, we're happy to give it. Or if it's something they want help with in our area, obviously it's easier. But certainly I went out and about with Pete a couple of years ago, down into the wilds of central Scotland, would you believe, and went to chat to another organisation about whether or not they could set up a project like this. We're quite happy to talk to people, and wherever possible, go out there. It's quite nice actually to leave your own area and see somebody else sometimes. Yeah,
I can imagine. Yeah, it's something that I can imagine lots of people will want to replicate. So that's very good advice, and I think it's something that I guess a lot of people obviously can get involved with like local scout groups or things, but there's something a little bit different about doing the kind of what the Wombles are doing, which is the more physical like in activities that are involved. So that's excellent, interesting advice, I think. And I guess, Jasper, from your respect, if there's someone sitting at home thinking, what can I do for conservation? What can I do in my local area? What would you recommend that they kind of do local? That's a really big question.
It is a big question. It's not an easy one.
If they were thinking, one piece of one or like a small piece of advice for kind of, let's say Scotland. If they're sitting at home in Scotland right now thinking, what can I do for Scottish species? What would you recommend they do?
Well, I always go by the 3 R's:
Okay.
reduce, reuse, recycle, because that covers everything. Cut down on your plastics, cut down, have a vegetarian meal a week or two. Even I've gone to having a vegetarian meal, which would surprise most people because I'm a complete carnivore. But, just go for a walk, appreciate the countryside. And I think that's what a lot of people are going to do now, certainly after COVID, is really appreciate what they have on their doorstep. In your garden, plant some wildflower seeds, have a little wild area, feed the birds, make a bird feeder, make a bird house. Wherever you are, nature needs a home. And if you could try and give a home, then, that's the best thing that you can do. There's so much you can do. And it's not that hard. Buy loose veg, cut, turn lights off. Remember to walk everywhere, or as much as you can. It's a little bit more difficult in the Highlands. So, but it's just making those little differences, because it may seem small to you, but if everybody does a little bit, that little bit turns into one big bit, and that one big bit makes a difference.
That's a really nice summing up of a very, very large, impossible to answer question. So, because I realized as I was saying it, I was like, I used to work at the zoo. I used to work at an aquarium. I used to do all these things, and that was the question people would come up and ask: is what can I do? And it's like, how much time do you have to sit and listen to me give advice? Because I could sit here for hours and tell you all the things, but I think the way I've been summing it up recently is do what you can, whether that be any of the things you mentioned, kind of cutting down on certain things, vegetarian meals, even it was Earth Hour a little while ago. Just looking for these campaigns where even if they seem like they're just for show, turning off your lights for an hour, actually, if everyone does it, can make a big impact. So it's yes. Thank you for that. Excellent way to sum up a very complicated question and issue. I guess. Oh, what were you going to say? Sorry.
I was just going to say one last thing. If anybody is interested in setting up a Wombles group in their area, like I say, get in contact with myself or Carolyn, and we can either send you a physical how-to guide, or we've got a PDF that we can send to you via email. So, and like you say, it's just a little, it's just a little guide, just to hopefully point you in the right direction. So I don't know how many you've got, Carolyn. I think I've got one box left. So have you got any more boxes down there?
No, I think I gave them to you when you went down to that conference, and you gave them out like sweeties.
I did.
Well, you can't be blamed for that. You want as many people as possible, so you've got to be passing them out. I'll put links in the description in the description of this episode for kind of the various websites, the RZSS and I'm not going to mess it up this time. I'm not going to combine names. Caberfeidh Horizons website as well, so that people can go on and there'll be contact information on there, presumably for both of you. So that's perfect.
And also the Facebook as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because the Wildlife Wombles have their own Facebook page, which is good to watch.
Perfect. I was going to actually ask, that was going to be my final question, was going to be if there's anything you wanted to kind of mention for people to either follow, or either if they want more information and find out more, where would they go? But would it be websites and the Facebook page would be your top recommendations?
Yeah, we try and post something on the Facebook page every week when we're actually working. The best thing to me on the Facebook page is the Wildlife Wombles film that we did when we started right at the very beginning, and it is The Wombles by the Wombles, and it's the most amazing film. And sort of 6 years later, every time I watch it I cry, because these guys are amazing. They are absolutely amazing. So my advice to your listeners is go on the Wildlife Wombles Facebook site and watch the film that they made. And this is about them going there and making a difference. And they do make a difference, and they're quite happy to stand up and say so.
I like that. That's yes, perfect. So I guess unless Jasper, did you have anything you wanted to add to that, or is that us all good?
That's us all good. I think Caroline summed it up. Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Caroline, and thank you very much, Jasper. So thank you very much. Thank you. Welcome back. I really hope you enjoyed that interview and learning all about the Wombles and the fantastic, wonderful, amazing, incredible work that they do up in the Highlands here in Scotland. And I hope you'll look into them a little bit more, or have, if even better, you'll have been inspired enough to go out and try and get involved or set up one of these groups yourself. It's a project that I think certainly should be replicated across the world, because it seems to be having great effect both on the community, but also on it's a good conservation initiative as well. So yes, really positive, really good news story there that I hope you've all really enjoyed hearing. That kind of brings us, though, to the end of this week's show. Thank you, as I say, so much for listening. I'll put all the links we discussed in the description for this show, and make sure to check them out. Also, make sure to check us out on social media at Pangolin Podcast on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Follow us on there for updates on the show, as well as interesting articles and things that I find that I want to put out there and I want to talk to people about. So if you are interested, do make sure to follow us on there. Also, make sure to subscribe on your podcast streaming service of choice. Whether that be Spotify or Apple Podcasts or anywhere else, make sure to subscribe or follow so you never ever miss out on an episode. On next week's show, I'll be joined by my really good friend, Tasnia, who is currently based in Bangladesh. She's going to be telling us the story of the street dogs of Bangladesh. It's another really good episode. I need to start making some bad ones, but I can't. Everyone is so interesting. It's another really interesting episode because Tasnia, we also talk about being a woman in conservation. She offers her perspective on that, which I think is really inspirational and really interesting. And also kind of talks about an issue that I think a lot of people wouldn't consider to be a strictly a conservation issue, but it certainly is an animal welfare issue, and it's something a bit out the box for this show. So I really hope you all tune in next week to listen to that as well. Until then, that is all from me for today. So thank you so much for listening.